Hey, hang on, let's put it back on again. Somebody said it sounded ominous. Gotta get this going, yeah? Lot of fun, that. That, my friends, was Lydian. Lydian, oh, have you heard Lydian? Lydian the tattooed lady. Reminds me of that. Am I on? I think so. Well, it is Wednesday night. You know what that means, don't you? Am I coming through, guys? It is Wednesday guitar class. I think I'm coming through. Am I on? Oh, I am. I'm on there. I could hear it there. My hair is indeed growing. I could hear that. Could you hear the guitar coming through there? I'm not sure if you could hear the guitar. Oh. Right, okay. It sounds like I'm on. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. That's what I was after. So what I was doing there, I was using a drone because that's what today's lesson is all about, guys. I'm just going to put this down a minute. I'm going to put this down. It is Wednesday's guitar class from the book, kind of, but not. It says there, above there, it says from the book, kind of. But really, this is all about, modes and scale formulas today. That's what we're going to do. And the biggest mistake that beginners make with modes, and really there's a few ways to look at it, and it is a very, very kind of confusing situation for a lot of beginners, and I want to help clarify that. Oh, hang on, I can just see just a little bit above there. Let me just move that up a little bit more. That was better. Right, wonderful. Right, okay, we could hear the guitar. That's the main thing. So yeah, the biggest mistakes, that's what we're going to talk about playing modes for beginners, is it's just apply it. What happens is you see these diagrams and there's like 7 patterns and all this sort of stuff, and it's like you apply the patterns and everything just sounds major or minor. Really, that's the thing. So today's class is really all about scale formulas, where modes come from, and how you're going to apply them on the guitar. It's a massive topic. I'm hoping that I can get through quite a substantial amount of it, but we may have to carry this on again another lesson. But we're no strangers to that. Regulars will be no stranger to, like carrying a lesson over to another week. It's all part of the fun. So that's what we're going to do. And so I want to get you to this point where you can tap into the modes, and then you can unlock all those lovely modal colours. And like I was playing at the beginning there, that was just an A drone note that I was playing on an MP3 there. I'll drop that in the PDF Club thing with people. Oh, I should mention that, shouldn't I, as well, in a moment. But just wanted to make sure that that if you're struggling with this, I'm going to come at it from a few different angles. That's what I'm going to come at. So make sure you wallop the like and say hi in the chat. If it's your first time, let me know. And, look at that there. How many people are on? Let's have a look. How many people? We've got 121 on. We've got 37 likes, guys. I'm not doing anything until you wallop the like. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to take my bat and ball home. I'm not going to play. My bottom lip's going to come out. I'm going to sulk. Go on, wallop that like, guys. Let's get that there, and then the algorithm will push it out to other people who are struggling to understand modes as well. Phil James. That's a good one. Is that Phil? So if it is your first time here, let me know. And like I say, there are some things that are touched on in the book. If you don't know what the book is, I'm going to put it up on screen. This is the book just here. This is a link to the book here. This is the book in my hand here with my notes all scribbled all over it lovingly. And basically, I'll tell you as we go through, there are some lessons in here but that carry on to it. But for me, one of the things with modes is hearing them. Once you can hear the modes, then that's good. And there is a lesson in the book, and if you're taking notes right now, then that's page 87, lesson 80 in the book, and that's about hearing the modes. And we use a drone note in that as well, and it's what it's called. There's this parallel approach to having to listening to the modes. But look, there you go, guys. There's the old links there for the book, and I should mention as well that we also have a free guitar community that I like to show people and just tell you, this is a place, the non-toxic place on the internet where it's just about guitar, no politics, no religion, no nonsense, none of that stuff. So what we're going to do is if you want to go over there, it's free and it's a good place for you to come and hang out, Jill. Show pictures of new guitars. Somebody was showing a picture of a new Gibson that they had earlier on with a Bigsby trem. Very interested in coming back and looking at that. So there we go. So that's the Fretboard Fraternity. And like I say, all the notes and handouts, I've got a big old wad of notes for today's lesson that I've prepared. Because I'm going to talk about modes, in kind of like a big overarching thing as well, so that you understand how to kind of the context of using them as well. So all these PDFs, these guys will be in PDF Club, and it's like, what's PDF Club? I hear you say. Oh, hang on, let me get rid of that one there. There's the link for PDF Club. That's a way to get access to all my past lesson PDFs and all my future lesson PDFs as long as I am breathing oxygen on the planet. That's the idea. Yes, so that's what we're going to do. Well, that's what I think I'm going to do. Anyhow, so, and PDF Club as well. And Mrs. Ricky, is there a coupon for today's PDF Club today? There is indeed. Mrs. Ricky is upstairs. She's in the crow's nest. William Shepherd wants to know, what does Eyup mean? Eyup means hello. It's a warm greeting. It's like welcome, aloha. That's what it means. So that's what Eyup means. If it's been puzzling you, then don't worry. There's lots of things that puzzle me still, and I think I think I'm getting worse as I get older myself personally. Yeah. So Mrs. Ricky's, she's there. She's posted it. There is a discount code in PDF Club for PDF Club. There, you get I think you get 20 quid off it. 20 quid off. Right, wonderful. I think that's wonderful. So I'll leave that up there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do roll call in a moment. I'm going to say hello to everybody in the community here who's joined the class. And like I say, the numbers building up? Right, okay, the numbers are building up. Let's get some more likes on here, guys, and get everybody in here for this lesson, because hopefully this is gonna clear up modes for you. Okay, so let's do the roll call. That means I scroll to the top of my thingy here. I still have to find a way to put it on the screen here. I think as well that, if I'm not mistaken, you guys get like, if you were the first here, or if you was the second here or the third here, there's all sorts of like little tag things, flare things at the side there, which is cool. So we got that there, and so let's do that. So I'm going to say hello to everybody, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my timer on. Will I get through the timer without getting lost in waffle? Let's hope so, because we've got a lot to get through. Let me put the timer on. I'll put the timer on there, guys. So by the time that timer finishes, the lesson will start. Let's just wait for the stragglers to roll in. Those ones who are, like the dogs at their own work, all that stuff. But let me start by welcoming you to Wednesday's guitar class. Jerry Linde, up in Sweden, Telefunken. He might have to leave early. All right, okay, we're cool with that. Don't worry, as long as you come back and rewatch it on the replay. Winston Moy, up everyone in North Dallas. Ken Guthrose in Newmarket, Ontario. I hope everyone is doing well today. I think, are we all well? Are we all doing well? Okay, well, we hope so. Rennie Hartman says, TJI Wednesday, Ed up all. I think you're glad it's Wednesday. Yes, hump day. Thursday, as they call it. Thunder Ace, my OG, A up there in the chat. Roger Smith, hello everybody. Rennie Hartman, yup, was the intent. Face blue smiley. Chimp number 1, hi everyone, bash the button and join the fun. Indeed. Greetings from a sunny Lowland Scotland. Is it sunny in Scotland? Crikey, it's horrible here. Yeah, I was going to say something there, but I bet it's best not do. About Yorkshire weather. Randy Smith, might as well hit the like button early, sports fans, definitely. Christopher Campagna, A up, string vibrations and modes. It's just math, it's correct, but execution is an art. And that is the fact, that is a thing. So, it's music. There's a lot of maths in this, and this is the way to kind of look at it. Greg Barrows, hey up, Greg. Good to have you here, mate. Carolyn, good morning, Fretheads from British Columbia. Oh, planet orange, purple ring. That's what it tells me here. Look, I'll just show you, Carolyn. That's what it says. So I'm not getting the emojis. Those are meant to be emojis, aren't they? But I'm not getting them there. Mike Isdior from South Florida. Welcome. Florida. Michael Burke, 9 likes and he hasn't even started yet. Oh, well, is that good? We'll hope so. Randall Clark in Texas. We've got Araman 3048 in Switzerland. We have Mark Carter in Mountain Brook, Alabama. Phil James has put it in here. Hey up, Ricky, turned up tonight to find out what this PDF club is all about. Best wishes to all tonight's Fretheads. Let's have a good one. Face blue smiling. You see, that's what I'm getting. Mike Allen. Hey up, Mr. and Mrs. Ricky. You're looking as marvellous as ever. Hey up, Fretheads. I'm super excited to be here with such a wonderful group. I love that, Mike. I love that, how positive you are. Yes, look, it's growing. It's getting there. It's getting longer, but, I've got to keep it tamed. I've got to keep it tame because, I don't want to be looking like the idea is to look windswept and interesting, as Billy Connolly says, and so that's the thing, you see. But it's that awkward stage. There we go. But we've all tried it, haven't we? Growing his hair. So Unholy Moon Dog. Good evening to you as well. Good evening, everyone. Marcel LeBlanc, up, fellow Fretheads from 22 degrees C, cloudy Longueuil, Quebec, Canada. Wayne Johnson, getting up from Cowtown. And Wayne, I like the fact that your profile picture is cowboy boots. It looks like cowboy boots. I love that. I love that to bits. Oh, we've got Patrick Darby, Sheehan in the chat as well. Oh, the modes. This is my downfall. Well, we'll try and remedy that. You might not get it all in one go, but that's okay because we've got it on video. We can rewind. We can slow down. We can refer to the PDFs. And we can circle back round and then get it. Because that's what happens, guys. That's really what happens, isn't it? You learn something, and then you're reaching into the freezer for a bag of chips, a bag of fries, or let's just say some hash browns. Something frozen in the frozen aisle. Well, you reach in there, and just as you're picking it up, you go, oh, it surfaces. Because it's been bubbling in your brain, and you go, right, I get it now. And that's what happens. That's the way it always seems to happen with me. Or in the shower in the morning. That's the thing. Shower time is the best time for really getting clarity on things, I think, first thing. So there we go. Almoense in Arizona. It must be Wednesday, finally. It surely is. Daryl, drink wine. Up. At work, loading trucks and trying to keep my screen awake. Lol. I like that, you're doing that at work. I think that's really adventurous of you. Matthew Lee. Hey, Ricky. Matt down in Bama, Alabama. I'm guessing. Oh, John's here. Hey up, old lad. I don't particularly like modes a lot. I'm going to have to because he's like, nah then, lad. There you go. That's for John there. Hey up, old lad. Carter Hutchinson. Hi, everyone. I'm Mrs. Ricky. Warm and humid in Cajun country. My favourite time of the week is here. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We also have Vicky DeMayo. Happy Wednesday. Yes, Winston, I think, do you know what was happening is I had my regular theme tune music going on, but I had that drone going on in the background because I was just running my fingers through the scales just to warm them up again, get them to do as they were told. They can be disobedient at times, so as you get older, it's just like, you've got to keep them going. So so there we go. That must have been that. Wingo, hey all. We've got Robin Tate in. It's Wednesday again. Maria. We've got Maria Muggs Davies here in the chat as well, with wishing all the Fretheads there. A guitar, that, and cool shades. Cody Lamar. How's everyone today? Good, I hope. Hello, Ricky. Good to see you again. Good to have you here, Cody. The Analog Kid. Hey up, my fellow Fretheads. There we go. Curtis Robinson. Hello all. Antonio Elder UK. Hello from Kent, UK, the garden of England, and the supplies all the food, doesn't it? And also the setting for The Darling Buds of May, one of my all-time favourite shows. When it comes on, it's like, it's really grainy and horrible, but I'll watch it. It gladdens the heart and warms the cockles. So there we go. Dick Plump, Eyup Ricky, and all others. Good evening from the Netherlands. Good to have you here. Papa Doc, Eyup, please make modes make sense. Hopefully that's the idea here today. Ken go through. Hello, Mrs. Ricky. You getting a hello here, Mrs. Ricky? Yeah, she is. Yeah, she still likes that. William Shepherd, we've spoken. Now you know what Eyup means. Ron Carrillo is in the chat. Suranang is there. Fawaka Suranang. Graham Wood. Hi all from East Yorkshire. Are you East Yorkshire? Oh, hang on, you're going to have to get E-by gum. Yeah, that's you get an E-by gum from Yorkshire, Graham. There you go. Tamika, Eyup Ricky, good to have you here. Danny, is it Danny Wahlberg? From Malmo, Sweden, good to have you here, Daniel. Scott Simmons, hello from Colorado. 68 years around the sun. Hang on, what? Happy birthday tomorrow, Scott. Hope you have a good one, and I hope that there might be a nice PRS Silver Sky or a Gibson Les Paul or a Fender Strat. That's just me. I'm projecting my and I know that Mrs. Ricky's listening, aren't you? Birthdays. Never had one yet, but there you go. But I'm so picky with guitars. So yeah, you wouldn't buy me a guitar, would you, Mrs. Ricky? She's not answering me. Well, there we go. So Michael Burke, Mark's Brothers, 66%. Jim number 1 says 66% on my phone battery. I'll be here until the very end of the lesson. John Carver, hello everyone. Haydar McQueen, hello there. Hey all, so glad to be here. Rock and roll. Good to have you here. Stuart Smith, hi all. Emze is in the chat as well, ready to fix my newbie mistake. Greetings here from Vanta in Finland. Araman says loud and clear. All right, okay, so relaxing meditation. Tim C, Eyup all. Relaxing meditation says, good evening, Ricky, and everyone watching. Hope you're all having a great day. Keep up your inspirational work for us less mortals. We're all aiming for the same thing. It's just some of us have been at it longer. That's what it is, really, We've got, who else do we have? We've got Dark Gents in the chat, just here lurking. We also have James Julian. Yep, can hear the guitar on you. Oh, brilliant, that's what I wanted to know. Rocket67, ready to rumble. William Henning in from Lake Pan, Florida. Annex in the chat as well. Alan Mackey in East Tennessee. Gary Buck says, great topic. It is a good one. True S. Sean Armour. Everybody get your rock and roll hats on. Yeah, we need rock and roll hats, don't we? With beer cans. I think beer cans in the side. That's what it is, and a straw. Just keep. That's a good idea, isn't it? I could do that on the stream. It could be Yorkshire tea, though. It could be Yorkshire tea, though. I'm drinking water right now. I'm pinky out because I'm posh. Yeah, so there you go. Just a big hint there, I was just waiting for the amber nectar to turn up there. Dave SVT, greetings from Buckeye State of Ohio. We also have, and I've got to put this up here actually because I had to broadcast, because the thing is, Phil said, I've learned that a mode is simply a closed chain loop that remains unbroken. Any link can be called home. I like that, because one of the things one of the pages I'm going to show you today, you could think of it in that way. It's another circular thing. You know how I like my circles. I like how things all join up and start again. So I was going to show you, but I'll just leave it there just for later on. Make sure everybody watches. Hi all, really good. Really looking forward to tonight's lesson. Good to have you here. Small water feature, just made it hot in Austin today. 35 degrees C, sounds nice to me. Itchak Cornfield is in Swansea as well. Hello from Swansea to Ricky and my fellow PDF friends. Good to have you here. Phil Osborne is in the chat. Looking forward to the moods. Or is it moods? Lol. Ooh, I like that. Daniel. Oh, hang on. Well, there you go, Daniel. It's your first time here. Thank you very much for turning up and joining the class. We appreciate it. And it's always nice to have somebody new come into the community. We've got I Train Managers for Success. I wonder what you do. Greetings from Southern Virginia, USA. Tony Mason's in the chat. We've got Eva Dunstan. Hi, looking forward to another lesson. I hope so. I like the colour of your guitar in your profile picture there. Very, very nice. Curtis Robinson. Oh, we've got another first timer. Well, now all the time we'll be here. There you go. Round of applause. Thank you for turning up today. We also have Kjetil H from Northern Norway. I hope I said that right. We've got, who else have we got in here? Joe Harvey in the chat from Corsgold, California. Of course I hit the like, because you're a good one. That's what it's all about. Casper Johansson from DK. John Steer. Hey up, John. Good to have you here. Who else am I missing here? I hope I'm not missing anyone. Mary, lunchtime in Colorado, Ricky. Oh, I've got to add that to these. It looks like I'm trying to see the picture of that guitar. It's a really nice sunburst on that one. We like that. So Marcel says, Marcel says, if you're here and you know and you will like it, hit that like button now and be done with it. It helps a fellow out with the YouTube metrics, and it's free. It's true. Thank you, Marcel, for putting that. And Richard put walloped. Welcome, Richard. Gixaron, you and me, video games. AA up. Good to have you here. Dem Ravens, woohoo! Pre-countdown, no stars. I'm sure you mean star jumps there. We have also got in the chat, we've got Ingo Null. A up, everyone. Missed last time, I missed you all. Yeah, I was just going to say, I haven't seen you for a while. Been a few weeks. Michael Salmon says, made it tonight. Hi, everyone. Brew and pizza on the go. That sounds like you're living the high life there. We also have Cartosian says, I think I heard Eyup owes its root to the Vikings when they were vacationing in England back in the day. It's like, Eyup, give me all your stuff. Yeah, and other things. Len Biggs in Johnson City, Texas. We've got Elizabeth Azard in Eyup. Sorry I'm late. Liz from Connecticut. Oh, hang on. It's time. Thank you very much. I was wondering. I was getting a bit of a panic on, wondering if it was going to come at all. But then she'd have remembered. She would have done. I'm using today's Circle of Thirds mug. Yes, which is a lesson in itself. It's got a QR code on the side there. Find the link in the description. Right, let's have a sup. Oh, it's lovely, not? Yep. Yorkshire tea. Hey up. So there you go. So Elizabeth says, sorry I'm late. Liz from Connecticut. Unexpectedly in Texas this week. Don't worry, I have my guitar and ready to play. Good. That's what we want. We applaud. Hang on, I'll put some applause on there. We applaud your resolution to keep on practicing. That's what's got to be doing today. So what we got going on here? Randall Clark's in the chat. We've got not a chancellor. Bill, we'll catch out when we get back. All right, okay. Mike Williams is in the chat. Oh, been with you for a little bit, but first time on live. Oh, that's it, first time live. Thank you very much for coming along there, Mike. This applause button's getting some use today. I'll put the timer. Rocket, don't you do that. Don't you say that. I've still got 27 seconds to go here. I can get it all in. Three Dogs Brewery, A up to the fretboard, Fraternity, William Swain, it's beautiful here in Wonderland. We've got Malcolm Dengate, A up to everyone from Sussex. We've got Robert Kennedy in Texas, ready to review the mood. Chimp number 1, love the poll. Is there a poll? Has she put a poll in there? Oh, Mojo Rising in Chicago. We also have, who else have we got? Phil Swan, hey up Phil, trying to be sunny, ready to learn. Curtis Robinson from Connecticut, hey up. Who else? Martha Minton, hey up Martha. Thank you, love your teaching style, Ricky. Oh, and it's gone to 0. It's gone to 0. We've got Bionic Bill T in the chat here, waiting for the Sage Council. Sage Council, more like oregano council. We will go further down the chat here. Alfred T. Hey, I'm watching from Ghana. Crikey, that's a ways away from here. Ryan Whitey, Ricky, growing your hair so you can properly bang your head after reforming my metal band. Oh, sounds good, does that, you know? I'm not going to lie, it does sound good. Dick Plum, do blues players really need modes or do they need mood? I'll tell you something. I'll just answer that quickly. Blues is based on dominant chords, and really, a really, really nice colour to add to your blues is mixolydian. And that's a mode. So the thing is, you know, a little bit of it's going to tie in. We can even go a little bit jazzy by adding a Dorian in there as well. Depends who you want to sound like, really. Who inspires you? And that's the thing. Why am I waving my hands around like this? Phil Swan says, wish I had some hair to grow, bald as a coot. I love that, Phil. Thank you. Stevie Pinhead, hey all from Seattle. Mo Chef Canna, looking forward to learning how to use modes to actually make music piece all around the world. Wonderful. We like that sentiment. Graham Penfold, hey from Sandhurst, missed a couple of weeks. I thought so. I do notice who I haven't seen for a while, like Rattlesnake Roy. I haven't seen you in the chat for a while. Hope you're all right there. Big Steve is in Olympia. We also have Music Junkie 2K in Los Angeles. Good to have you here. Richard Grissom, hey up, Rich. Good to have you here. Three Dogs Brewery, new pedal day. Me as well, actually. Me as well. I should say, what I've done is, like I say, I've been putting this new pedal board together. But look, Three Dogs Brewery, new pedal board. You'll have to tell us what you've got, but this is one I've got today. And this is, I needed a compressor. So what I'm doing is, I've been on AliExpress. I watched loads of videos. For a budget compressor. And this is the one I got here. Will it show it? There you go. Moval Neutron Star. It was like 28 quid. And most compressors, you can't get them for less than 80. So I just thought, do you know what? It's worth a punt. I'll bung that on the board. Me and Ben are going to bung that on the board, and we'll see what happens with it. I do have another pedal as well that came last week, but I'm going to save that for a proper unboxing. So let's have a look at that, and we'll be trying that out. And I've got another pedal as well, which is a boring one. It's just a Polytune, a little one there. But yeah, so adding some new things. So adding those things to my pedal board, it's a new thing to me. So I might get into it this time. But just let's hope I don't get into it like I did when I got into camera lenses for the old Canon, because there's a box full of them up there. So that's dangerous. So what have we got going on? We've got Michael Burke. Marx Brothers was the Lydia the Tattooed Lady reference. That's it. That's the one. It was Marx Brothers. You see, I remember those matinees back when I was a kid. No answer is not answering in front of witnesses. Be patient, water is on the boil. There we go. We're going through these here. Blue Spool, digging on Wednesdays. Who have we got? Are we going to see the pedal you had from last week? Did you like I've not tested it out yet. Geeks Are On You and Me video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to have the whole pedal board out, and we'll play through it, and I'll play through it, and we'll show you, see what works, and see what noises I can get out of it. It might not be good. We don't know. But here we've got, who else have we got in here then? So I think everybody's in here. Oh, well, look, and Mary's got, it's a Yamaha FGTA. There you go, best to you, Mrs. Oh, there you go. Well, you see, my knees hurt. I only play Ionian and Aeolian modes. I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. Mary Courier, still across the pond in central left coast. So, Ken Guthrow is in the chat. Who else? We're scrolling. Jack Martin, a.k.a. Half Pint here in Asheville, NC. We have, who else? Anybody else? I'm getting to the bottom of the chat now. Let's have a look. Michael DeLima, we also heard there. We're all talking about things that we've bought as well. So that's cool. Mike Allen's, who's it? William Swain says Jerry Garcia equals Mixolydian. Yes, this is it. We've got all those things. The Fractal FM9, it's a bit expensive, isn't it? Is it? I think so. The Fractal. I'm not too sure. But I'm going for the pedal thing because I was confused for a while because I had my head turned by the Helix LT or the Helix Floor, but it's like it's one of those. Have you tried Michael Parmisano's teleport pedal? No, I did watch him announce that, and I thought it was a wonderful idea. But I don't have one. And I do think it would be a nice idea to check them out. And Cody says, "Hi Ricky, do you like Donna pedals? Petals? I'm assuming you mean pedals. But I've never tried Donna pedals. But what I've done with this is, I imagine they're all made by the same sort of company if they're on AliExpress, which is where I got two of those pedals from." And one of I should just show you, shouldn't I? I should just show you because what it is, unless you want an unboxing, because you're not going to really know what it sounds like. It's here. I'll show you what it is. That the other pedal I got. I got this one here. This is a budget Univibe. So essentially, it's a Jimmy Nova. Yeah, that's what it is. There. I wanted a Univibe. I thought to myself, do I want a chorus? I might come back to it and need a chorus, but I thought I'll definitely need a Univibe because I really, really dig those. I really dig those sort of Univibe sounds. So that's what I'm gonna get. That's what I'm gonna get. I'll just put those on and then see where we're at. But I would like to try the teleport out. But I'm gonna go to Ben's. Whose backing tracks we're going to be using today, and he is the pedal master. He's got tons of pedals, so I'm going to go and try out some of those. So yeah, pedals are great. They're great things to add to your arsenal, just to inspire you to keep playing. Especially if you've got an electroacoustic, you can plug it into something. Then that's all pretty cool. Did you ever wonder? Do you know something? That's your profile picture is sorry, it's my favourite today because I don't know if you realise that we are kindred spirits. We both worship football at the Etihad. There you go. There we and I'm so looking forward to this year's Premier League. That's an aside. Let's get back to guitar, Ricky. Let's keep on that. So that's what I'm saying. Yes, and a few other things. Yeah, a few other pedals. Somebody mentioned TC Electronic. I'm looking at something like the Plethora X3 potentially, or maybe even it's the mash pedals that I like there, because what I need to be able to do is the mash pedals are cool because you can play a chord, press hold, I can hold the chord, then I can play over the top of the chord, which is pretty much what I'm going to try to do today with a backing track. But if you can do it and produce it on the fly, it's almost like having a looper but not a looper. So you just press that down, you got the chord, and then you can put the sounds on top. And that's a great little tool, and I like that idea. So, do you know, we could just talk about pedals by the looks of it, don't it? It could be one of those things, but we are talking about modes today, guys. So, let's just have a sup of this before it goes remotely warm. JS10 Boss, you don't need pedals. I know there's lots of different stuff out there. There's just so much, isn't there? We're spoilt now. Back in the day, it was a PV Bandit and a Metal Zone. That's all I had. Yeah, so that's all I could afford. So that's where we're at. Who remembers them? PV. Who remembers PV guitars and amps? I think they might be back, but the PV Bandit, solid state. The PV 112, absolutely rock solid guitar amps. Wonderful. So there we go. I think I've done it. I'm going to remove this lesson starts thing because obviously the countdown doesn't mean anything really, does it? So those pedals make me want to listen to Ricky Kaminsky actually play a couple of full songs so we can experience his mastery of the guitar. Well, that would be a good way to do that with a backing track. And this is true. We would be here for weeks if we talked about pedals. The lesson is coming, okay? It is coming. And we're going to do that right now. If you're ready for class then and you haven't walloped the like, then make sure you wallop the like, guys. Give it a wallop. Because that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this. Let me just give my nose a little blow. It looks like, I think everybody had a PV Bandit 112 at some point. They must have done. If you've been at it long enough, you will have done. Michael DeLima says, Bandit was my first amp, 112. Yes, I do PV. Still have one. I got rid of mine. We had them in at the music school because we did band sessions. We had like 5 or 6 of them on the stage for the kids and the adults to plug in the guitars and stuff. And they were just bulletproof. Other amps would die, they could take anything that you threw at them. They really were. So there you go. Stop the clock thing to yourself. Yeah, I'm doing that right. So right, okay. Let's start then, guys. Let's start with this lesson. I'm going to take the ticker off the top. We'll do that there. We've got this here. Oh, Gordon Reed, hi from Tennessee. You're late, mate. You're going to have to do your 10-star jumps. I'm just going to say that, Gordon. Right. So the thing I want you to get into your mind is really there are 2 overarching ways of understanding modes. Yes, we have derivation. Yes, so they are derived. Yes, they are derived from another scale. So a mode, it's one function of a bigger thing. Okay. So for example, we mentioned Mixolydian. Mixolydian is basically it's a scale starting from the 5th degree, of the major scale. Okay. Now, so you can see, and I'm going to go through these, why these are derived, and why they. Oh, thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll just bang that up there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I super do. It's your birthday tomorrow. You maybe want to keep that and add it to get that PRS. Unless you've just played that. Look what Ricky said. You need to, and to play it to your wife, you go, Ricky said I need a Gibson. So that might be the way it is. So thank you for that. What we also can do, so we can derive the modes. So we have a framework and we derive multiple other frameworks from that framework. Okay, so that's what we're doing. And like Phil says, it's a loop. It's a closed loop, and any of the links in that loop can be the start. It could be the beginning of it. So really, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, but also another way that, and I think this is where people get confused. We can think of modes as being parallel. Yeah, so basically, if we started on the note C and played a C major, then that's a C major, and and I'll get into the technical names of this. But essentially, if we started on that C and we played Mixolydian, then that's really, it's starting on the same note. So really, it's a major scale with a flat 7. I'm going to get into it a little bit more, like I say, and we'll break it down. But I think, like I say, for me, the whole thing about modes is hearing them, because like I've said before, modes are moods. And then we've got to realize that because what we're trying to do is we're creating music, guys. So music is the language of emotion. So the idea behind modes is we just want to hit specific motions, but we want to be able to hit them explicitly. We need to be able to associate a mode, with a kind of feeling, and then go, that's the sound that I want to use here. Instead of it just being willy-nilly and like, I did it, and then random, and then, where's it gone? So we don't want that. Yeah. So we want it to be something where you can pinpoint it, and you can go reliably and say, yeah, I want this to sound sad. I want this to sound exotic. I want this to sound tough. And that's the way I want you to think of it. And there is a lesson in the book, and I should say that that I did, and that's what I was on about earlier, and it's right at the back of the book. It's I think it's lesson 80 in the book, actually, of the 80 lessons. Yeah. So the thing is, in the book, it's there. Look, hearing the modes worksheet. There's a worksheet there, so that's in there. It's in the book. So if you already have the book, then that lesson's there. So go and have a look at that, and that talks specifically about hearing the modes. Okay. And another thing with modes is I kind of think of them as like, well, I do think the number one I think is the washing machine. Yeah, that I'm so well acquainted with. Aren't I, Mrs. Ricky? I'm not acquainted with the washing machine. Mrs. Ricky knows the ways of the washing machine. You know, you got the knobs, you turn them, and you can wash stuff on the wrong temperature very, very easily and ruin it. This is, I know that, because you've got it on the wrong mode. And the thing is, it's basically, it's a way of the washing machine is a way of being, but in my mind I just think to myself, the washing machine does it. There's lots of different modes on it, so washing woolens, I don't know, I'm making this stuff up here, right? Aren't I really? But another way I think about it is a way of being. So because modes equal moods, you could have a work mode. Yeah, so when you're in work mode, then you're in one sort of mindset, and you can have modes of mindset as well. And I think that holiday mode, study mode, man flu mode, crisis mode, there's all these different modes that we operate in, if you think about it, if you want to look at it that way. So all these different ways of we experience life, they carry like varying degrees of tension. Okay. And modes have different tensions as well, and I'm going to explain that they can actually go from bright to dark, and there is a spectrum of brightness and darkness to the modes and how they feel and how they sound. Okay. Hey up, Shauna. Good to have you here. You're late. 10 star jumps, please. Thank you very much. So that's the way we're looking at it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to derive all these modes from the major, which we're going to get to know as Ionian as well. So if you've ever heard someone say major, yeah, that's the most common way of understanding that scale structure. Major, overarchingly, applies to the tonality of chords and things, whereas Ionian, which is the another name they're also known as for major, you definitely think that as being restricted to a modal idea. It's a little bit narrower is the compass of that. So and you've got to be careful because music theory can muddy that thinking as well. Okay, so but we'll go through that. But I like the idea of thinking of them as derived and parallel. So those two ideas there, and then think of them when we compare them to the major scale, and that's how we're going to get these formulas today. And that's part of the thing with today as well, is to get into understanding how when you see these scale formulas. For me, scale formulas are your ingredients, yeah, for the music that you want to create, and you're cooking with sound essentially. So what we need to do is we need to be able to understand our ingredients and select our ingredients. So that's what we're going to do today. And something else I did want to say as well is visualizing this. Now I know this is particular to guitarists. Because what we do is we learn scale shapes and we think that it's the mode, but it's all dependent on the tonal center, the note that's underneath, and the chord that's underneath. Yeah. So really, that's the thing that confuses people. They play the pattern, they play it. Look, it says it's a Lydian pattern. They play it, and it just sounds major. Yeah, and that's the frustrating part. But let's connect that with why it belongs. They belong to chords as well. So we're going to pull that in today, because you need to focus on the modal center. Right. And what I'm going to do, hopefully, get through this today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do modes in box patterns. Now, there are two sort of conventional ways of looking at modes, as in scale patterns, and that is you can look at them as box patterns, or you can look at them as 3-note per string patterns. We're not going to do 3-note per string patterns today because that's worthy of a whole lesson, maybe a couple of lessons to itself is that one. So we'll leave that, put that to the side for now. But this stuff that we're talking about today can be applied to it as well. So really, that's what we want to think about. So let's. I think I might have to go. I might have to go pen and paper. Take a sip of some tea. So what we do is we are going to go to the old overhead. Let's go to the overhead camera here. Right. Okay. So I've already written some stuff out here. Now the thing is, what I want you to understand is, like I said, we have to create scales. What we need to do is we need to be able to select our ingredients, and that's what we're going to do here. And where do we get the ingredients? Well, this chromatic scale is the supermarket where we get our ingredients from. That's the way we're going to look at it. Now, the funny thing that I want you to understand is that the word scale comes from the word scala as its root word, and scala means ladder. Okay, so when you think about a scale, you can just think about it as a note ladder, and essentially what happens is each note of the scale is a rung on the ladder. Now, what we've got to watch out for is this. It's easy to get mixed up in the language. Scales, the notes in a scale are called scale degrees, okay? Notes in chords are called intervals, okay? So the thing is, you need to think about it that despite the fact is, when we express scale formulas, we may use the idea of it being intervals, yeah, coming from the root note. So the distance from a root note to a fifth, for instance, will be a perfect fifth. That is an interval. But if we looked at it from a scale degree, it's the fifth scale degree up from the root. So it's a slightly different terminology. I know that this is something I've encountered this a few times where people have got a little bit confused about intervals and scale degrees. But so scale degrees are what we're going to derive from here. So essentially here we have a shopping list of intervals here, okay? But this is the first scale degree, second scale degree, third scale degree, fourth scale degree, fifth scale degree, seventh scale degree, seventh scale degree, okay? So it just happens that they tally with what I was just saying there. And that's because the major scale formula is the most important scale in modern Western music. So really, that's what we're looking at here. So each note on a scale, and this is the scale here, is a rung on the ladder. The scale that there is the scale that has all the scale degrees in it, and that's the chromatic scale. Because look, if we imagine that this was our guitar string and we're splitting it up like that, yeah, those are our fret wires. That long line there is a string. You can see what we're doing there, and what this is essentially, who knows what this is really. If I put this here, do you remember what this is, guys? And this is why I talk about it all the time. The chromatic scale, we can explain it as being the interval seesaw. Who remembers the interval seesaw? Yeah, if you remember the interval seesaw, I've got a little thing, a little note here for this here. This is in the book. This is page 26, lesson 20 in the book. It's the interval seesaw where we look at the scale degrees. We get the perfect fourth, we get the perfect fifth, we get the minor second, minor third, major third, minor sixth, major sixth. We get these pairings of these intervals that work together there like that. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with, guys. These are the 12 notes that we have. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. This here is essentially just the root note. It's a repeat. Now notice what I've done here, guys. I have not included any alphabet letters because that's a different layer in the understanding. What we have to do is we have to take out some of these notes from this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my highlighters, as I am wont to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this. And what we do is we take any of these ingredients here and we correspond them to the scale formula. So you can see here I've got a root. So what I'll do is if I highlight that there, and I'm going to highlight it here as well. So that's the same note. Now this one here, yeah, says that it's the second. So this is going to be this note here. I'll just put a circle on that one there. The third, well, that's going to be this one here. Notice I'm skipping these other ones out. Notice I'm leaving those out. Okay. So then I go to the fourth. That's the next note that I need. And then I go to the fifth. This is the next note that I need. Then I go to the sixth. That's the next note that I need. And then I get the seventh. And remember that this octave is essentially the root note again. Now, I could have had any letters that I wanted to from whatever key signature in here. And the way I think about it, if we're looking at it from a perspective of being of tonics, then what we would do is we would look at a guitar string. And then I can think to this myself is like, well, what notes can I have from here from my guitar string? These are notes. So these are the intervals, and they're also doubling up as the scale degrees, whereas these are the notes. Okay, so we get the letters. So we get E and F, we get G, we get A, B, C, D, E, F, and you can see it just starts repeating again. Yeah, but if you went from E to E, that would be an octave. And then if I'm doing this on the thick E string as well, because this is an easy one to look at. We've got F sharp, G flat. We've got, I'm going to call this A flat. I'm going to call this B flat because it's just easier. This is going to be D flat, and this is E flat. Now I think that's the easiest way to understand these notes here as as tonics. Yeah, or tonal centers. Okay, so they're going to be tonics, and when they're tonics, then we're thinking of that as being major harmony. Or tonal centers, we're going to be thinking of that as being more modal harmony. Okay, so we can think of it in that kind of context there. It's interchangeable that we're going to call them a tonic as well. A tonic basically means the tone of the scale, the main tone, the important tone of the scale. So we've got those chromatics there, but hopefully you can see that all I've done is to get that there, I've just pulled those corresponding notes out of the chromatic scale, because the chromatic scale has everything in it. All right, and I think that's a really important thing to get your head around. All right, so that fifth, it's just the same. Hopefully you see it's the same thing there. Boom. All right, they're all derived from there, but you see we've got some left over. Now this is where it gets interesting. What we can do is we use this major scale here, as the master template, if you will, the master recipe for all the other recipes we're going to create. That's the way to look at it. And what we could do is we could take all those scale degrees and we take them as the base structure within an octave. You see, so the chromatic scale, we'll look to that within the range of an octave there. And what we do is we modify the major scale to accommodate the formulas for the modal scale degrees, and we do that by altering the scale degrees. But what we've got to do is we've got to discover how those alterations come about. Okay, where do those alterations come about? Now we know from a major scale. Yeah, if we look at a major scale, have I got another sheet of paper here? We know from a major scale there. So if I did this here, and I go major scale, root, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and back to 8 again. What we could do is we can explain this in units called steps and half steps. Okay, Now, that's one way, that's one kind of language. We could also think of that as being a major second, this as being a minor second. This could be a tone, this could be a semitone. There's a few different ways of doing it, but the long and short is if I use that symbol there, that means step, and I usually put a 1 to show that it's a whole step. And if I put that angle bracket there and I put a half on it, that's to show that it's a half step. Okay? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Now, any major scale has to follow this strict structure. It goes step, step, half step, 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 half step. 1 1 half, 1 1 1 half. Now, I know people do it as whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, or tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So the thing is, the language can change because basically I kind of think of tones and semitones as being UK and European, and wholes and halves and steps and half steps as being US and more sort of jazz orientated. So really that's what we're looking at, and this is the master structure, okay? And this framework of steps and half steps never changes, never ever 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 changes. So if we use that, then what we can do is I can demonstrate that actually on the strings. Let me just demonstrate that quickly on the strings, so I think it's a useful exercise. So let me just switcheroo over here. So what we'll do is I'll just put this on a clean sound. So we've got this here. I've got my E string here, and if I go up my E string, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up step, step, half step, 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 half step, and you'll hear it spell out the major scale. You know the major scale sound because it's do, re, mi. Yeah, so you can hear it there. There's that intonation slightly out on that. So we've got 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Now the thing is, that same structure is going to happen on this A string. On this E string, what I'm doing is I'm starting on the note E, and the notes that I get are E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and then E. Okay, so those notes are changing, but the structure is still step, step, half step, 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 half step. If I do it on the A string, I'm starting on an A note. And I go up a step, step, half step, 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 half step. So if you hear that, I play it up as a scale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We get the same thing, okay? We get the same scale, same sound, but we're using different notes, and the notes change. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Okay, so we're getting all those different notes there. Look, try it on the B string. You can hear I get the B major scale there. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then what I could do is I just think to myself, well, all those strings, this is going to work at 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 12. And I get back all the way through the whole of the scale. Okay, so that's the rigid framework that we've got there. But you know, and I know, physically, if I take this E, F, sharp, G sharp, A, okay, and I go up and I know my scale formulas, I know my mode, my Lydian mode, for instance. If I go, oh, Lydian has a sharp 4, I go root, second, third. Well, that's the 4th, so I have to sharpen it, which means I push it up. Like that. So I get this note. And the whole do, re, mi thing goes out the window. Just because we've altered one scale note, one scale degree there, guys. That's, you see, this is the thing. So I'll demonstrate a few other things like that. So that's what we do essentially. We extract the major scale from the chromatic scale. We're doing it in C major because it's the easiest one. So if I do that there, so if I go like this, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Hopefully, you know your musical alphabet enough to know that C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. Remember, E to F, yeah, it's a half step. Eggs fried, remember that mnemonic? F to G, G to A to B, B to C. Those are next door to each other on the fretboard, yeah? If you think about it on the piano as well, they are as well. So it's step, step, half step, 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 half step, okay? So that's the C major scale, okay? But you can see that it does that. Now, if I just, for instance, did G major, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, I've got to make a modification to that to make it into a G, then you'll see that the same thing happens here. Look, it's a rigid structure. So it doesn't change. It never changes. So G to A is a step, A to B is a step, B to C is a step, because it was a half step. Because it was a half step there, it's going to be a half step there as well. C to D, good, that's a step. D to E is a step. I needed E to an F sharp there, because if that had remained an F, it would have been a half step. And that F to a G would have been a step, which then removes that cast iron framework that we have for the major scale. And it's important that we have that framework for the major scale there, guys. But the thing I want to impress upon you, the note names do not matter at this point. So we can do that with any note from the chromatic scale. Yeah, we can do it with any note from the chromatic scale as a starting point, as a tonic or a tonal center. And these are the ones that we have here. So you wanted to play C major, this would be your tonic. That would be your key tonic. That would be your tonal center. That's the note that is pulling all the other notes to it. That's home. And that's what the tonal center actually does, is it makes you feel like you're going home. So yeah, note names do not matter at this point. That's the thing that we have to know there. Now, and like I say to you, and I've got to talk about modal names, the names of the modes as well, because that's another thing, because it sounds so mysterious, doesn't it? It sounds like you're tapping into the dark arts. Yes, it's like major is also known as Ionian. Yeah, and I spelt that wrong for years, because the way I remembered it was one onion, but it isn't. It's one. It's Ion Ian. So it's Ionian, yeah. So they are the same. They're the same sort of thing. Now, the funny thing is, and I think it's interesting, really interesting to kind of know this sort of stuff. It's attributed the major scale or modern harmony comes from Pythagoras. Yeah, he was the triangles dude, and he was trying to do something and match up the planets to make the music of the heavens, the music of the spheres, from what I understand. And that's the thing. But really, the mode names, they're just names of tribes and I think actually Greek tribes, and some of them can be Roman as well, because there's like, if you look at archaeology, you'll find that you get Dorian columns and Lydian columns and stuff. So these things passed around, but the thing I want to impress upon you is that they're not. They're of no significance are the names of these things. They're just labels. And a thing, interesting thing is, going back to this Ionian as well, thinking about the whole thing, 4,000 years ago, Dorian, would have been the foundation for all music. Yeah, now 20th century, well, going back probably to the piano. I'd say probably the piano ironed it all out. It was all over there when Cristofori invented the piano, and all the notes were like, oh, that's it. It's all ironed out. We've got tempered pitch now. Right, no mean tone music, none of that stuff going on. So everything just switched over to this major tonality. But years ago, 4,000 years ago, Dorian was numero uno, and then for for a short time as well, another period of time, Lydian was the predominant sound that was the foundation for music creation. It just so happens that now it's later on it switched to be Ionian, and then we kind of Western music we turned that into major and minor. Yeah, that major and minor sort of tonality. But the thing is, I just think they're just labels, guys. Just like the letter names. The letter names on the fretboard, yeah, they don't mean anything. C doesn't mean anything, does it? It's just a label, and that's the thing is don't get wrapped up in the labels for the sounds, yeah. And like I mentioned before about the modes, is they are a bunch of sounds, and they have a personality to them. They have characteristics to them, and we can express that in either brightness or darkness. And here's what I kind of think of the modal brightness and darkness. Yeah, and we can look at this from a modal perspective, and this introduces the names of the modes as well. And so you might think, oh yeah, they do look very exotic. Lydian is the kind of the happiest sort of sound there, and actually Lydian is one of those things. There's a guy called George Russell did something, a Lydian concept. We wanted to reintroduce Lydian as being the primary source that we all pull our sounds from. And what I've done here is I've kind of grouped these. We've kind of grouped these into major pentatonic. We can play major pentatonic box patterns, and then we can incorporate the modes. I've done a lesson on that where we added 2 notes, 2 pentatonic patterns some time ago, and that taps into this. And I just want to say that if you're thinking about genres of music, then we can kind of apply a broad brush stroke across all these here, apart from chord 7, which is like weird and bizarre. But obviously you can see brighter going through to darker colours. So really what happens is Lydian, you know, it's an interesting spacey sort of light airy sound, whereas Ionian we know as major. This is a mixed Lydian that sounds like a tougher major. For me it just sounds a little bit more rugged, and this is why these guys, Ionian and Mixolydian, they'll get used in your country. Mixolydian crosses over into the blues, so does the Dorian. When you start getting to blues rock, then you start digging into Aeolian, and then when you hit Phrygian, you start getting into more sort of metal sounds here. But what I want you to do as well, and I'll come back to this, is if you look above, you'll see there is a corresponding chord from the key. Now, this is from the derived method of looking at it, not from the parallel idea. So Lydian, yeah, if we're looking at Lydian as being derived from a major, it would be from chord 4. It would be from the 4th degree of a major scale, that we would think that's where that comes from. 1 is Ionian, 5 is Mixolydian, and this is that whole shtick in the Rosetta Stone video that I did about synonyms and about everything being the same. So 5 Mixolydian, 2 Dorian. These are things that you need to memorize. You know, chord 2 is Dorian. Chord 2 is Dorian, Ricky. You know, just like chord 6 is Aeolian. You need to just memorize the relationship between them. You know, it's kind of like when you have a guest that comes around who's got a peanut allergy, and you say, don't give them the peanut toffee brittle, you know, anything with that in. You've got to associate these things with correctly. Yeah, you want to make sure you do that. Yeah, so it's associating the modal name with the chord. Okay, and then once you associate that, then when you play the chord, the scale pattern is more likely to drop under your fingers, a lot easier. And so we can see that this is the way they're all scudged up there. And I think that it's just interesting how we've got the major modes there. So we have 3 major modes, and we marry those to the primary triads of the key that we're deriving it from. There's some questions coming down there, and then The minor triads, yes, they are related to the minor modes, and we want to think about those in that way. Emsey says, maybe stupid question, don't know the names, but what I play Melodia, most notes or key start flat, B flat, flat, or flat, flat, flat. I don't know what that means. If that's, I'm missing a bit of information there. Id pull mal. In der Physik laufen Maus auf Laufbandern. Yeah, id pull mal. Yes. Now, the thing you'll notice about this lot here is this is Lydian, Ionian, Mixolydian, Dorian, Aeolian, Phrygian, Locrian. This is in modal brightness and darkness. This isn't the order when we derive them, guys. So when we derive them, something else happens, okay? And I think the easiest way to show you how we derive them is this little chart here. Now, what you can see here I've got a C major scale. Like, if I just hide this to stop you from peeking. Yeah, and we'll go through this. There's all the information that I've put in here. So like I say, this is going to be in PDF Club. So here what we've got is Ionian, aka the major scale. You can see it goes step, step, half step, 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 half step to get from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay? So that's the way we do it there, right? Okay. Now, and if you wanted to, no, I know, Ingo, that's the thing. If we look at it, and this is the right, you're completely right there, Ingo. It's like Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian. If we're going through that order, what we get is Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. Id pull mal, exactly there. Okay. So we've got that there. Scott Simmons says, I don't particularly like my Aunt Lucy. Childhood trauma. Phil James, I don't play loud music after lunch. I think it's useful to have your own mnemonic that works for you. But hopefully, you can see that what happens. Now, here, I want you to see that when we think about the Ionian here, we're looking at this first note. This first note's really, really important. I kind of see this as like a cue. It's a cue of 7 characters. We can think of that there. Dem Ravens. I knew someone was going to put that one in there. This is the same person at the cue, gone to the back of the cue. So this is the important note. This is, if we're thinking about this Ionian as a mode, we're thinking that is the tonal center. So if I played an Ionian mode based on that C with a C drone note, or then that would be the notes that I would use in that order, and that's essentially the major scale. But what happens is that's just using that note. What about these other notes here? Yeah. Well, apart from that one, we've already used it. What happens if we use the D note? So let's go down to the D note. So if we started on the D there, right, we get a completely different structure. And what I want you to see is, in between the D and the E, we get the step, half step, and then we get step, 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 half step, and then to get back to the D again, we get a step. So if I wanted to write that out, it would be step. So look, step, half step, 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 half step, and then step. And that's completely different to what we had for our major. And notice, even though I've done this way, I could have put this as the scale degrees in here. I could have put that in there equally. But what I wanted to do is show it you here with pitch. So we've got the pitch on there, and that would be how you would understand the Dorian. Yeah, so because there's the scale formula underneath there. I don't know if that's a little bit small. Can I zoom in? Shall I zoom in? Is that a zoom? No, that's not a zoom, Ricky, is it? Let's have a look at that one. I think it is. Oh, yeah, there we go. It was a zoom there. So you can see there with the Dorian, Move in a little bit more there. Right, you can see it's got a root, it's got a second, and it's got a flat third. That makes sense because look, we've got a step and a half step. That is a minor third. Yeah, that distance from there. So what we've done is we've got these intervals, but that's the first scale degree. That's the second scale degree. This is the third scale degree. But the third scale degree happens to have been modified now because of the way that the steps and the half steps have changed. Yeah, instead of having a major third like we had in the major, yeah, we've got a flat third because this is a minor mode. Dorian is a minor mode. And so look, if I go up here, I've got a fourth, I've got a fifth, and then what happens is, I'd had a flat six before. I had we keep that major six. I'm thinking of Aeolian. So we've got a major six, and then what happens is, hang on, it's squeezed down again there. So it's gone down half a step. So we've got a flat seven, and then we get back to the root again. Okay, so that helps me to figure out the formula. Now, the thing is, I think remembering the steps and half steps can be useful, but the easiest way around it is to understand the scale formulas and memorize the intervals in the scale formulas. Okay. Paul B says upper note, upper mode. Exactly. Yes, that's it. Actually, worth looking at there. Put that in the chat there, Paul. Good contribution. Upper note, upper mode. So that's what we're doing. We're going systematically upper note, upper mode. Now, what happens is, okay, if I go upper note and I go upper mode, like Paul brought into the conversation there, that means I'm going to start on the E note now. Now, and if I just cover up that business there, and just starting from the E, you can see that what happens is from the E to the F, I'm going up a half step straight away. So the scale structure has already changed. I've gone up a half step, 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 step. I've still got that structure. These shift around. Then I know I'm going to go step, step, step. I'm going to go half step. And then I'm going to go step and a step. I think. Is that right? 1, 2, yeah. Right. So look, root. Now, I can draw these in like this, and then I can alter them after the fact. Yes? I can alter them after the fact. So this is going to be a half step. So what I do is I'm extrapolating. I'm pulling. Oh, you can't see it. There you go. Pull it down there. All right. Let me just zoom out a wee bit more. We're okay. That's it. That's the one. Right. We're there. Okay. So we've got this half step here. Look, guys, now I start to pull in. Look where it lives in the chromatic scale. Root to the flat second is a half step. So I'm catching on to these intervals in the chromatic scale here. I'm using those as well to help me to get to this. But look, if that's gone down a half step, then in between if I'm going up a whole step here, then what happens is I don't get a major third, I get a flat third. So now you can see I've altered that there. These are modes in series. Yes, not we can do them in parallel, but we can do them in series. But this is modes. I think of them as being derived, as derived from here. Because look. If you look at that sheet there, right, we've only got C major, but we're just starting on each of the notes in turn as we go up the scale as a new tonic, okay, as a new tonal center. So that's what we're doing there, right? So they're derived from there, right? When you say modes are in series, they are following each other, aren't they? So that is what a series is it's events following each other. So really, yeah, they could be. You could think of it as being in series. But let me just get back to this Phrygian one here. So we had the flat second, and then if I carry on that flat third up here, then flat third to a fourth. Well, a third to a fourth is a half step, so a flat third is going to give me a whole step again. So you can see that the structure has actually changed. Fourth to a fifth is a step. I'm cool. Fifth to a sixth is a step, usually should be. But because this is a half step, then I have to alter my scale formula and I get a flat 6 instead. Okay, so that's the modification that needs to happen. Because I've modified that flat step, it pulls my flat 7 in there. So really, you can see there, but it's a completely different step and half step formula to derive these from the major scale. So essentially, you're taking the major scale formula as your template, and then we are altering the major scale according to the order that the steps and half steps are created because of the way we are moving along. Actually, like Phil says, in series, in series, and upper note and upper mode. You can kind of think of it in that way. Yes. So hopefully that makes sense. So that there is Phrygian. So we've done the Phrygian there, and then we look. We can see we go from the F there. We can see that goes up step, 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 half step. Yeah, step, 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 half step, 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 half step. Now this one's a weird one to me because it's almost like the major, which goes step, step, half step, 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 half step. So it's a group of 3 and then a half step, a group of 2 and a half step. So you can see that's what's going to happen there. And you end up with the root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and then back to the root there. And you can see root to the 2nd, perfect. That's going to give me a major 2nd, 2nd to the 3rd, perfect. That's good. Here is where the alteration happens. Normally we'd have a half step here, and we would have the step in between the 4th and the 5th. And because we've gone up, what happens is this step pushes that 4th up 1 fret, and that gives us a sharp 4. So that's how we get that formula. You see, you can see it's modifying the major scale formula. There's the 5th, there's the 6th. Right, so that's a step. 6 to 7, that's a step, and then the 7th to the root note, which is a half step. And you can see the only note that's changed there in that Lydian is going to be the 4th there. Okay, let's have a look. Let's scroll down. Let's see what else is going on. So let's just have a look. Let's just answer some questions. So with C Dorian is the root D. C Dorian the root would be a C. Yeah. If you're in C major, yeah, the 2nd degree of that scale. Okay, we can look at it in this way. Actually, let's just do that. Let's just do that, just because that's a good reason to clear it up. Let's put that there. Okay, so what we're going to do is if I put, this is the C major scale. These are the notes of the C major scale here. We've got the notes of the C major. This here is, we can think of it as being the root note for major. That's major. Okay. And then what we do is this one here, this is Dorian. This one is Phrygian. This one is the tonal center for Lydian. This is the tonal center for Mixolydian. This is the tonal center, the most important note for Aeolian, and this is the but ugly note that creates Locrian. Yeah, remember major, it has an AKA of Ionian. Okay, so its modal name is Ionian, but we know it more commonly as major there. So so it's still the C major scale, but because we've gone up to the 2nd, and we could think that if we think about it, C major, that C there is going to be the 1st mode. That's the 1st mode. This is Dorian is the 2nd mode. Phrygian is the 3rd mode. Lydian is the 4th mode. Mixolydian is the 5th mode. Aeolian is the 6th mode, and Locrian is the 7th mode. And you'll happen to see that the scale degrees have just popped out there, and if I just bung that there. So we're deriving it from a major, and you can do, this is just C major. You can do that with any key, with all 12 keys. I'm going to say 12 keys, 12 major keys. Yeah. And that's the way we would look at it with any of these. So what I've done there, I could equally do in A major. I could do it in F major, or I could in E flat. Any of those there would do that job. And this is the reason why, and this is the thing I think as well, Scott, is why we need to memorize that. And this is where id pull mal comes in. Id pull mal, or the mnemonic. I don't particularly like modes a lot. Yes, or whatever it is that helps you. There's some fruity ones further up the chat. Hang on, can we get you to put your version of that in the chat here, guys? In the chat, your how do you remember the order of the modes? Yes, so it's still a C major scale, and the major scale is the parent scale. Yeah, the modes are derived from the parent major scale. Okay, from the degree, and what happens is the degrees of that major scale, like I'm showing you here, the different degrees of that major scale. So you see, that's the second, becomes the tonal center for the Dorian, because it's the second one there. And if I go down, the third note in the C major scale, that becomes the tonal center for Phrygian. Okay, coming down again, the fourth, 1, 2, 3, fourth degree of the major scale there, or the Ionian. The fourth degree becomes the tonic, or the tonal center for Lydian. So let's have a look. Let me just catch up on the chat here. It does look like the roots change. The roots do change, yes. And in changing, but the thing is, the parent major scale structure is still in there. It's still in there, okay? Which I think, actually, hang on. Let's do this. Let's jump ahead a little bit, because I think this helps as well. Let me just move to this. All right? You know how I like my circles, guys. You know how I like my circles. Let's put this in here. Now, this is in order. This isn't the cycle of thirds. Yes? This isn't the cycle of thirds. All right, this is just going in order. So we've got chord 1, chord 2, chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6, chord 7. So if I put my C major in here, my C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, there, you can see that they correspond with each other. Now, I wrote those in. I could have written anything in there. Okay, I could have written from G, I could have written from E flat. So the thing is, but I'm also just showing you that the rigid structures are still there. The step, and the half step, then the step, and the half step for that Ionian, which we also know as major. Okay, that is rigid. But if I started on Phrygian there, and I could see that it goes up half step, 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 half step, step, and then step until I get back to the E again. Okay, so this cycle thing here, this is how you can do it in a circle, and that really, hopefully that shows that. Hopefully that shows that. So let me just see this going down here. Yes, the circle is the way. So let's have a look. Phil James, I don't play loud music after lunch, and Dem Ravens was in. Yeah, let's just put that there. In dark places, lovemaking always lurks. It sounds a bit seedy. So let's scroll back up a little bit here and just make sure everybody's here. Nobody gets left behind. So let's have a look. So the roots all changed. There's a note. Is the first note shown the root note for your sheet, such as E for Phrygian? The note names change. The alphabet letters change. It's all based on the parent major scale. So if we were in the key of E flat major and we wanted to derive the modes from the key of E flat major, then what we'd have to do is we'd just have to work out the key of E flat major, what chords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are, and then associate the modes with each of those chords, which I think is probably the easiest way to do this. Because look, you look at that and you just like, Ionian is called 1 because it's major. Yeah, Dorian is called 2, it's minor. Phrygian, minor. Lydian, major. Mixolydian, 5. They're chord 5, major. Aeolian, chord 6, minor. Locrian, chord 7, diminished. Okay? So the thing is that they blend with each other, and they are really synonymous with each other, are the chords that they produce. Let's have a look. Who else is I'll leave that there. You could just study that for a minute. Okay. So Dick Plomp said, should you know all major scales to derive the different modes? I think it's always going to be useful to know the major scales, but I think what you do is you pick your battles with major scales, because of there's so many keys that we play in. There are keys that it depends on the music that you're learning. I kind of think of as the caged keys, and F are the first sort of 6 keys you should really get to grips with. The thing that happens is you get note blindness on the fretboard if you're doing keys that you're not familiar with. You'll probably have A minor pentatonic down. Yeah, that's one of the scales everybody gets down first. A minor pentatonic. But when somebody says, "Oh yeah, move that to be a G flat minor pentatonic," you might, hang on, how do I do that? So because the guitar is a transposable instrument, what we do is we just shift everything really. So once you understand it and you see the patterns, then all you have to do is just move them around. But because they all essentially they dovetail into each other like Lego. Okay, that's what happens. That's what happens with modes, which you'll see in a bit. So, Small Water Feature says, thing my brain is sticking on, if we're using the same notes, how is it a different sound? Right, okay, well, let's pull that back in. Because the reason it's a different sound is because of the arrangement of the steps and half steps, okay? Now, when I play them, that will probably be a bit more obvious why that happens. But really, we're deriving those notes from there. So let me just kind of complete this sheet here, just so that it's done and dusted with. So you can see here, we've gone here, the Mixolydian. So if we had a parent key of C major, then the second chord, Dorian, would be D Dorian. This would be E Phrygian. This would be F Lydian. This would be G Mixolydian. Okay. A Aeolian. Now the thing about Aeolian, I should also mention, is it's also known as the natural minor, or also known as the relative minor, right? So you've got to this is where these things cross over. You've got to understand. So this is the modal name, but it's like 3 different ways of explaining the same thing, yeah, based on use case and context. And then we can see that B here belongs to Locrian. Now if I zoom back in again on these scale formulas, is that as far as I can go? Look at these scale formulas. You can see that those are all alterations of the major scale formula, and what it's telling you to do is, instead of playing a major second on a Locrian, what you've got a flat second. Instead of playing a major third, you've got a flat third. The fourth, we'll leave that alone, that's the same. The flat fifth, okay, so we have a perfect fifth in major, but in a Locrian we've got a flat 5, so we have to lower it 1 fret. Flat 6, we had a major 6 in major, so now we've got to flatten that 1 fret, and then when it gets to the 7th, it's not a major 7 anymore, we've got to turn it into a flat 7. So the scale formulas tell you the patterns. You can see it a little bit as well, but with the steps and the half steps, about how everything gets moved around, because it shows you how it gets moved around. But I think the easiest way to look at this is to definitely learn the scale formulas. You'll need to learn the scale formulas, and I think the thing is, why you need to learn the scale formulas is because once you drop the scale formulas into the circle of thirds, which is for your chords, then what you can do then is you can apply the modal scale formula to what I call the full chord, the 7-note chord that you can get that goes around. So we've got the triad, we've got the 7th, and we have the extensions of the 9th, the 11th, and 13th. Okay, we're tying in a little bit to the other stuff. So that's why when somebody says, "Do I need to learn modes?" Yes, if you want to understand all the big fancy schmancy chords. If you want to play cowboy chords, majors and minors, and sing simple songs, then this is beyond the scope of that. This is highbrow sort of like lead guitar stuff, really. If we're thinking about it, it's like standing on stage on an ego ramp and having a fan blowing at your hair. You know what I mean? Fireworks. But the tone. So Scott says so. The let's have a look. See where we're at. So Phil James says. Dem Raven says these are relative modes. All a bit inbred, have same bits. They are relative modes. They are relative to each other. Think about it. You're right there, Dem Ravens. That's actually very astute. So let me just share that, because the thing is, right, okay, relative modes, yes, they are relative to the parent major. Just like I said that the Aeolian can be known as the relative minor because it's relative to the parent major, yeah, and you can kind of say that if we're in the minor key, that chord 3, that's the way I think of it, as being the relative major. So they are relative to each other. So they are relative to those, but they are derived. They are derived, okay, from that parent scale. So, but I think that's, I'm going to put that in there again, because it's worth reading again. It's all a bit inbred. And it's it's a perfect example of it, isn't it, really? Because the thing is, yeah, they're the same family members. There's no new notes coming in to make the Dorian. There's no new notes to come in to make the Phrygian or any of the other scales there. There's no new notes. There's no sharps being added to any of these letters. Yeah, it's all being done mystically and magically with the fact that we are starting from a different scale degree in that parent major. Yeah. So I think that's the one. That's probably a good way to look at it as well. Do you know what? I love the fact that this is something that we can hash out, and I love this thing about asking questions and stuff. It's really good, because the thing is, I have to try and think what you might be thinking and the questions you might have, and people don't want to ask because it's online or whatever. And but I really appreciate the questions, guys, that come in, because it helps me to come at it from a different angle as well. And somebody might be thinking that thing that you've posted there as a question. So big thumbs up from me really. So Paul B says, so if you're doing, say, G major, then G will be Ionian, A will be Dorian. Exactly. Because if you think about the G major scale, what's the G major scale? Did I write it out earlier? Did I write it out? I thought I did. No, I didn't. I thought I did, but yes, I did. Yes. Okay. Yes, I did. Right. Okay. Well, let's tie this in here, because this is a good one. Okay. We're gonna crack through this. We're gonna get this. Zoom in there. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. And what I want you to realise is, so this is the parent major. So this, like I labelled these before, yeah, that would be Ionian. This second degree of the scale, of both of these scales here, this would be Dorian, because it belongs to chord 2. In fact, actually, I'm going to put that as a D for Dorian. D for Dorian. And then we've got 3 there, which is going to be P for Phrygian. Then we're going to get this here. This is going to be Lydian. This is going to be Mixolydian. This is going to be Aeolian. And then this is going to be Locrian. And you can see what happens is we spell id, pull, mal. Yeah, so you could do that with all 12. You could do that with all 12 notes, all 12 keys. If we want to think about it with that, you could do the same thing there. So that's exactly what Paul was on about there. So I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, there. Yeah, so if you're saying... hang on, I'm going to move that there. So if you're saying G major, then G will be Ionian, A will be Dorian, etc. Yes, G, Ionian, A, Dorian, B, Phrygian, C, Lydian, D, Mixolydian, E, Aeolian, and F sharp, Locrian. Okay? Okay? Is there a way to demonstrate this on the guitar in a 145? Right, okay. Let me just talk about that, Renee. Right, is there a way to demonstrate this in a 145? The 145 that you're talking about, that is basically that's a kind of a major and minor idea. That's the difference between major and Ionian. Okay, modal chord progressions are completely different kind of ideas than just major or minor chord progressions. Yes, and what you're talking about a 145 there, you're thinking about it from a kind of a major perspective, a diatonic Western harmony idea. Yeah, whereas modes are a little bit different. Okay, so so it wouldn't necessarily work that way, but like I mentioned when we did the lesson on chord progressions the other week, a few weeks ago, that I do have a lesson on modal chord progressions in the kind of like the planning stage as well. So there is that to teach as well. So it will come sooner or later. Patrick says apply the modal formula starting with C for each mode. Same for other notes. Now that you see this is different. And now when you apply the mode formula starting with the C for each mode, then what happens is you get the parallel modes, because C is the home note, it's the center. Yeah, and that's the thing that gets people. It's like, is it derived from the parent major? So that's what I mean by it's either we've either got a derivation, yeah, so where it pops out in series, yeah, or we've got parallel modes. Okay, we can do things with parallel modes, and those parallel modes are good for chord substitutions, you know, and the easiest one that we do is the parallel minor, which is we just use that's a whole different kettle of fish. We're not going to talk about that, but that's a whole thing. That's a whole different thing. I'm not getting into that. So we've got so it's a question there. So Kai says, so D minor chord for Dorian sounds in the key of C major. Yes, yeah. But if you played the D minor chord, yeah. If you play that D minor, let me just play that D minor chord. Let me just demonstrate this. Right. So if I play that D minor chord here. Now if I play, yeah, could you hear it straight? And when I hit the D minor chord, did you feel the whole personality of the scale that I play shift? If I play that there, it sounds major. Especially if I put the home chord on it there like that. Yeah, so that's the parent chord to the scale. That's Ionian. But if I played that, could you hear that note there? It was giving me my flat 7. Yeah, so I could. But if I wanted to, what I could do is, instead of playing that C major scale like this, what I can do is if I miss the first note off and I just play up from the D. Oh, sorry. Now you hear how that fits with the chord. So basically the scale fits with the chord. Okay? Let's add this to the chat. So for C Dorian, it's still a C scale. It is a C scale, but it's altered. Yeah, and what happens is this, it's not a C major scale, yeah, for C Dorian, because I think you might be thinking. Let's have a look. Let's read that again. All of it. It's still a C scale, but for scales and melodies, the tonal center, which would normally be the root, is now D. Kind of correct, Ryan. So for C Dorian, there's a C. What I would have to do is I would have to play the parent chord, which would be chord 2, yeah, and then play the scale there. You can hear the scale there, and there would be my chord 1. So play that there. that sounds, that scale matches the chord. Yeah, and if I moved up, that's my chord 3, which would be my Phrygian. There's the half step, flat third. So the thing is, you start to see all these shapes. Right, let's keep on going down. Just doing this question answering. C Dorian is still starting on the ski, but Patrick says that there. Perfect. C Dorian is still starting on C, just with the Dorian formula applied. Perfect. Perfect, Patrick. Yeah. And Graham says, what about the minor scale? Minor scale, well, it depends which minor scale you're thinking about. How? Remember the idea of the modal brightness, right? Just want you to think about this. When you say that, when you say minor scale, which one? Because you've got to think about it. Dorian is a minor scale because it's got a flat third. Aeolian is a minor scale because it's got a flat third. Phrygian is a minor scale because it's got a flat third. Lydian is major because it's got a major third. Ionian has a major third. Mixolydian has a major third. I know that's simplifying it, but that's what's going on there. So when you say minor scale, really what you're saying is Aeolian. That's the one we know as the natural minor. Yeah, relative and the natural minor. Okay, so that's what we're thinking there. And just like we can think of Ionian as being major, yeah, then that's the way we've got to think about it. So they're the same sort of thing. Okay. Right. Okay. So hopefully, Sean says, so learn the 1, 4, 5 and minor 6 modes first. No, I'd say play through the modes, play all the modes, use lesson 80 in the book. Yeah, play through the modes, see what they sound like. You'll find a sound that you dig. Yeah, and it's like it's all based on the music that you want to play, and that gives it context because it means you're actually going to use it. There's knowing this stuff and actually using it. Yeah, so if you're gonna play blues, then you want to think to yourself, all right, like I said at the top of the lesson, if you want to play blues, you need to learn Mixolydian and Dorian and be able to apply that to those chords as well. Those sounds as well. So maybe you want to, those are the ones that you prioritize. But you really need to know the sounds of them first, and then you can discern and think, I dig that sound. That's in the music that I'm learning. And then you'll apply it to the music that you're learning. I think that's probably the best way of looking at it. Ingo says, I could start at G at root and play Ionian and continue up to the Dorian. Well, you kind of look at it from this perspective. The tonal center, if the tonal center shifts using any of those notes from the C. So say for instance, do you know what? I'll use this A drone that I have here, right? But the first thing I do is I'm going to establish the C chord. Yeah, with this. You can hear that's where it wants to go. That's the home note. But if I play this drone, this is an A. Yeah? And I play that now, this will not sound like major because the tonal center that is underneath is changing everything. Okay? You can hear that it's lost all that major flavour now. Listen to that C now, we're sitting on top of that A note. It doesn't work as well, does it? Yeah, because that is a minor third above. So really, I'm almost like I'm spelling out the root and the minor third of the A minor chord. And I can make this. That was the same scale, that was the major scale. Now, if that's an A, and that's the note that I need to resolve to, because we're always about creating tension and release. So you can hear where that lives. to myself, yes, you can imagine the pattern there, the C major pattern if you wanted. Yeah. But the thing is, that tonal center's defining it. Now let me turn that off. Palate cleanse. It's like well, it's like testing out wine. You sup the wine and then you spit it out and then you have a gargle with some water to get rid of it. Can you hear how that's established the major tonality again? Now it doesn't sound moody anymore. So the thing is, the tonal center determines everything. So the thing is, and this is what I wanted to get onto with the scale patterns as well. We'll go through this. Do modes change when you're playing over a chord progression for soloing reasons? Yes, they do. The chords do the work. Yeah, so if there's a chord progression and you could play C major, but the thing is you have to target the tonal center notes to know where your resolution is. And this is where people fluff up. Yeah, so say you've got... so we've got just that there. I'm just going to doing chord 2, chord 1, chord 5 to 1. Yeah, 2, 1, 5, 1 there. Okay. If I play, yeah. So what I'm thinking is, there's the modal pattern there for the G. That's called 5, which is Mixolydian, which is a root. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, flat 7. Yeah, and then to the root, not the major 7. You can see how that fits with that. So the chords do the heavy lifting. Yeah, if you know about that, but you still have to chase the resolution and the tension. You're always trying to chase that and find out the best spots for that. Yeah, and this is why you need to know what the key is, what chords that you're playing along with, and that sort of stuff. But that's basically for sort of major tonality. Modal chords we're going to get some completely different things there. So. Phil says, does the root change but the tone or tonic remains the same? The root is the first note of the scale or the chord. The tonic is really, it's, well, you've got the major tonic and you've got the modal tonal center. That's the way I kind of think about. I kind of compartmentalize it, and I think tonic relates to the major tonic hum. So C major is the tonic, yeah, but the tonal center for Dorian that is parent to that would be D. D would be the tonal center. E would be the tonal center for Phrygian. Does that make sense? And the chords that we derive are completely different. Yeah, so that's why 1-4-5s don't really work. Michael says, where can I access and print these PDFs to use during the live lesson? I can't seem to find it. These aren't done yet. I'm still writing them out, Michael. Yep, Doc. Good to have you here. Nice to see you in the chat. Me as me. This makes total sense on paper. I know. We're getting there. Okay. Can you move from one mode to another? Yes, you can. And this is where parallel modes come in. And this is, Joe Satriani did something called pitch axis theory, where you basically hold the note. I want to get into that. Let me play it. Let me play something. I'm going to play that A note again. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is that's an A. This is an A here. Should be. It should be, but let's see if it's going to behave itself. Right, so we've got an A here. Now what I can do, let me just play the major scale on top of that, the Ionian. that has very chilled, relaxed sort of sound to it. Yeah? You hear how the parent chord lives with it there? Play major 7. You can play lots of different chords, but just play the scale. Now if I make an alteration to that, and I'll just show you the sound of the next mode, like we just switch quickly over here. So I'm going to do Lydian now, which is basically a major with a sharp 4. I'll show you. So root, 2nd, 3rd. So that's where the 4th should be normally. Let me zoom in on this. So that's where the 4th should be normally. But what I'm going to do is it's a sharp 4, so I've got to move it up a half step. There, like that. Now listen to that over that drone note. You can hear the tension. It needs to resolve up here to the 5th. So you can hear that it could become something completely different. Whereas major, just switching back to the major, can you see there's a different mood to that? Back. Pardon? The drone's too loud. Well, let me just pull the drone down a wee bit. Is that better? It'll take a little bit to ingest. Yeah, so that's major. Here's Lydian. Yeah, let me just scroll down to the bottom and see where everyone's at. Okay, now let me change it to the other major mode. Mix a Lydian. Okay, that's a major scale with a flat 7. So here's my major scale, root, 2nd, 3rd. Still a bit more. I'll go down a bit more. Hopefully that's enough. Okay. Right, now what I do is I take my 7, root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7. Now lower that. Now you hear that? The A against this. Yeah. Now if I wanted to, it'll work with a major chord because it's a major mode. Yep. So we've got that. Yeah, Shauna says something. If you think about it, this is almost how Indian ragas are played with an underlying drone note. Yes, exactly, and you can hear that. Actually, I think the mixed Lydian can sound very Indian if you think about it in that way. But you see, that belongs to chord 5, which is where we get the 7th chord. So we can use it in a blues idea. Yeah, so what I did there is I mixed a major blues. There's the House of Blues just there. Bit of minor. So I can mix and match all these sounds. Is that drone okay now? Yeah. So, and then, so those were my major modes. Let's have a listen to same drone. Same drone. Do we need to stop the drone? Are we all like falling asleep? It's oral mogadon. Like, let me start again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through these here. So that's the same drone there. Here's Dorian. Okay, I'm going to start with the Dorian mode. Okay. The Dorian, if we think about the major, was root second, major third. But the Dorian has a flat third. So instead of placing it there, what I like to do, place it there. So you can hear that. Yeah. It's got a parent minor chord with it. Yeah. So that's the Dorian. The next one. Yes, long hitter. There we go. I'll move my guitar out of the way. Black backdrop. So you're playing A Lydian. If you start in the fourth degree of the A major scale, it would be D Lydian. Yes. Relative mode. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Jackie Bunt, good to see you next week. Okay, so let me just finish to go through these. So this is going to be Aeolian, which is the same as natural minor. We've got root, second, flat third. Hear that? Listen to that. Fourth, fifth, flat six, flat seven, root. Yeah, so you can hear that how that goes there. So I just played the mode there. And the Aeolian really likes working with the minor blues scale. So you see there's the chord. Now the other one that we had is we've got, just switch back to the list, is Phrygian. Now I think of Phrygian as being a Spanishy sounding minor, so the drone is still that A. No worries, Dick, see you next week. We've got a root, flat second, flat third. Then we've got the fourth, fifth, flat sixth, we've got the flat seven, and it just repeats again. Can you hear how that sounds Spanish? Yeah, bit harmonic minor there, but you're not going to be bothered about that. And then, you know, we have to do this. Oh, we have to do it. We have to do Locrian just to show you how it sounds. You need to hear the sound of the Locrian. Now, the Locrian, we can kind of think of it. It's got all the scale degrees are all flattened apart from the fourth. Okay, these are parallel modes, Paul. Yes, indeed. Somebody wanted to hear what they sounded like. So these are parallel because we're using the same tonal center. Okay. Yeah. So we've got root, flat second, flat third, fourth, flat fifth. Okay, listen to that. Then we've got the flat six, flat seven. It's that sharp, that flat five that makes it sound awful. Because you got that tritone. tritone popping out through all of that there. But the thing is, the minor, these ones here, these are off. Yes, they are fine with 7th chords. You would extend them. The beautiful thing to know is that Dorian, Aeolian, and Phrygian all, they work with minor chords. But when we've done harmonising 7th chords before, you'll know that Dorian, Aeolian, and Phrygian, you can use minor 7 chords with those, so they will fit on top. So just a minor 7 chord. I'll put a minor 7 chord on like this. Yeah, here's Dorian. Yeah. There's Aeolian. Yeah, okay. Change it to major. Okay. Sean says, can you give an example of a song that used it and how they did it? There's too much. There's too much. There's too many songs. Winston says, if you use it... Let me turn that drone off. If you use a different tonal center for your drone, would you use the matching mode for good match? Yes, that would be parallel though. But the thing is, when it comes to playing the chords for some of these, then what we might do is we might do something else. We figure out the chords around the sound of the mode. Now, like for instance, I like this chord. This is an A major sharp 11, and the clue is in the sharp 11 on this. Listen to the sound of that one there. Now, if I take this note here, I get the Lydian sound here. Yes, Hans, the tritone is the same as the blue note. Yeah. Yeah. There. Okay. I don't know what no means. Which notes do you... So Rocket says, if you want to emphasize the modal sound, which notes do you play? Can you show an example? So that's what I'm just saying here. Is it's like, so really, when it comes to relative modes and parallel modes, what we really want to be thinking about is we can use the pitch as an axis to move to other modal sounds, and when we do that, that would be using this idea of parallel modes. But we can stay within the mode, within one mode, for instance, or like we say, when the chords are moving underneath, the mode is coming out if you chase the tonal centers for the chords that are underneath. Hopefully that makes sense. I thought the blue note was the flat 5. The flat 5 is the tritone. It is the sharp 4. Yeah. Resolve would always be root in this case A, no matter what chord you're playing or scale over. If you're going with that A drone note, yes, absolutely, yeah. So resolve would always be the root. Yeah. But I'd think of it when it's modal. I'd think of it as the tonal center. Yeah. So that's the thing with that there. So, I think that kind of explains a little bit of that. I'm playing it. Hopefully that does. But you see how they derive from each other. It's not new information. That a mode doesn't manifest from out of thin air. It belongs to a parent major scale. Okay, it belongs to a parent major scale. And if we wanted to where are we at? Have we got enough? Where are we at? We've done a lot, haven't we? If we wanted to see, the structure, I could just put crosses in here. if we go here, guys, this is another sheet. Yeah. So what I can do is I could put letter names in here. I could put X's. You play the relative modes to the parent key, but if you're using a drone track, you play all the parallel modes. And hang on, let me read that again, Phil. So you play all the relative modes in the parent key, yes. But if using a drone track, you'd play all the parallel modes in the key of the drone. The drone is, it wouldn't be the key, it would be the mode that you want the drone to be the tonal center of. Okay? Okay, so the thing is, right, let me just show you, this is how easy it is, and I want you to see here, Ionian, right? So you start to see, this is the chromatic scale at the top here, guys. Okay, so I need you to see the distribution, how the notes redistribute themselves. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put X's in here. Now, if you're in PDF Club, this is going to go in PDF Club as well. So what you could do is you could say to yourself, okay, I'm going to figure out which key this is, yeah? I could do this in different keys. I could do it as parallels. I could do it as anything. But Ionian, it's got a root, it's got a second. I'm using this here, third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh. And remember, we've got that octave there. Dorian, we've got a root, we've got a second, we've got a flat third, we've got a fourth, we've got a fifth, we've got the sixth, but we also get a flat a 7 there. And this is a good visual way to just see it. You can see the difference of the distribution. Like this Ionian major has a major third, where you can see how that's flattened it down here. So if we're thinking about that as being that's what we're thinking about with the flattening and the moving of the notes. Phrygian, well, the Phrygian has a root, it has a flat second, it has a flat third. So we're just tallying it on the chromatic scale. It's got a fourth, it's got a fifth, we've got a flat sixth in there, and we've also got a flat 7 there. So just so you can see the half steps and steps. So you can see here, that's a half step, 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 half step, step, step. So you can see how those go in there. Lydian, we've got a root, we've got a second, we've got a third, but then look, we had a fourth here in the major, but look, it's going to be a sharp 4 because it tallies with the chromatic scale here. Yes, this will be in the PDF Club without the X's. Yes, there'll be a blank one for you to fill out, and you can try it in different keys. You know, you can pick tonal centers, and you can fill it into your heart's desire and sit there and noodle. This is what you do when you go on vacation and you can't take your guitar with you. This is parallel modes based on a tonal center. This would be and I'm not going to, but ATX Viking, I'm not going to define the tonal center. Yeah, because the thing is, it's anything. X is just the holding variable. Okay? X is just, so this could equally be E flat, it could equally be G, it could equally be F, it could be any of those starting notes there. Yeah, but what we're doing is we're looking at that, and we're thinking of that in that manner there. So sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, back to root there. Okay, Mixolydian, right? So Mixolydian is root, second, third, fourth, fifth. And then what happens is we've got a 6th, but we've got a flat 7. So you start to see the difference. Step, step, half step, 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 half step, step. Okay, Aeolian, root, second, flat third. It's got a perfect 4th, it's got a perfect 5th. We get a flat 6th, and then we get a flat 7, and then we get back to the root note again, the octave. Locrian. So I sometimes feel as if all the Locrian ones want just shoving into the first 3 frets and just calling it done. Just like squish them all up. Flat second, flat third. We've got the perfect 4th, which is the only note that isn't altered. You look at the difference between the major scale, the Ionian, yeah, root, second, third, 4th, 5th, 6th. Those are all they're unaltered. There's no flats on them or sharps on them. Whereas you look at Locrian, root, flat second, flat third, perfect 4th. The 4th's the only one that isn't altered. We've got a flat 5, yeah, which is what gives us that tritone. We get the flat 6, we get the flat 7, and then we get the root again there. Okay, so I think that's a useful way to So me, myself, and I says, so modes are just scales. Yeah, you could kind of call them scales, but the thing is, with those scales, you can make chords. And then with those chords, you can make progressions. And if you make those progressions that are linked to the mode, to the sound of the mode, you build the chords around the mode, then what happens is the chords will sound like the mode, yeah, which is, like I say, I've got some chords for PDF Club as well. So hopefully that makes sense there, guys. Right, okay. Right, I think it might be a little bit too much to get into this, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to show the modes and how they plot out here. This is essentially C major. How are we doing? How are we doing for time, guys? It's 9:15 here. We started at 7, so that's 2 hours 15 minutes. We're deep into this. So, does Mixolydian go over the dominant? Yes, Kai says, does Mixolydian go over the dominant 7th chord because of the major 3rd? Yes, it does. That's where it goes. That's its parent sound. But you've got to be careful how you do it. Showing parallel modes based on the chromatic scale is very helpful. It is. And the thing is, and I would say this, guys, this sheet here, yeah, don't forget that this idea here can be repurposed as well for, if this was harmonic minor or melodic minor, we can use it to derive the modes of the harmonic minor and the melodic minor as well. It's the same sort of method, so you can see those the steps, the half steps, and the major the minor thirds. So this one here, yeah, that's an interesting idea there, Rich. Mixolydian is to Phrygian as Ionian is to Aeolian. Yeah, that is an interesting one. I mean, I talked about that when we divided the neck up into different sections. But let me go. I'm just, do you know what? I might be able to fire through this fairly quick. Let's fire through it. Let's just let's look at this. So what I'm going to do, these necks here, yeah, these necks here. This is all derived now. This is relative. It's not parallel now. So what we did before is we looked at that was parallel because the tonal center was the same for all of these. We're thinking about it that way. Now what we can do is we can put them and derive them from the key of C major, but we wouldn't stay in the same place. We'd have to move to accommodate that. Yeah. So here what we do is we go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You can see there is the major scale. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the box pattern all the way across the neck so that you can see that would be what you would play. And this here, that would be your tonal center. That C would be your tonal center. That's just the C major scale. Okay, I've plotted that out right. Looks right. Yeah, it looks right. Yeah, so that's just the C major scale. Now what we can do, I just feel like I need to finish this one here, Marcel. Now the next one we would do is we would think of this, if we played this with the tonal center there of C, we'd think of this as being Ionian. The next one we're going to do is Dorian. This is from the relative and within the sequence, okay? So what we do is we go here. We start on the D, because look, we've gone C, D. So this would be the next one. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. So there's the Dorian. Okay, so these become your shapes. There is a parent chord that goes with that. That's a major mode. You play a major chord. It will sit on top of a major chord. This is a minor scale. It's a Dorian is a minor, so it would sit on top of a minor scale. Right, let's look at another. Let's get another colour. So that's the D. Next one's going to be the E. Let's do the E up here. So the E's there. We've got E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So like I say, these are the box pattern versions. Yeah. These, Marcel, the pentatonic boxes live inside these as well. And that's the thing. That's the thing, buddy. You know, so if we did this, look, let me just go back. If I play that one there, yeah, you can see this is going in the sheet in PDF Club. There's the pentatonic box just there. You can see there's 2 extra notes being added because a pentatonic is 5 notes and a diatonic scale is 7 notes. So all you need to do is add another 2 notes to make it happen. Okay. So, and we can move these around, and you don't have to play the 7-note scale. You can get away with playing the pentatonic as well, which is an interesting one. And I love doing that with Lydian. Well, I think Lydian's probably my favourite mode. So here is E. That's the tonal centre for Phrygian. And we play an E minor chord with that. An E minor chord would be the tonal centre of that. So the next one we've got is going to be Lydian. Now, the 3-note per string pattern is generally what happens here. But what we're going to do, I'm going to play this like this. So F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So you can see they're all in they're in different positions here. So that's your Lydian. Yeah, I'm going to bat through these. I'm going to bat through those. So those are those ones there. And then what have we got? We're going to have, let's do Mixo Lydian. Let's do the Mixolydian. Mixolydian, because we're in the key of C major. That's going to be the 5th degree, with the 5th degree, which C, D, E, F, G. So it's going to be a G note. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. That's the pattern I'd play for that. Okay. I'm going to have to repeat a colour. So these are in series modes, Paul. Yes. Yeah. And then what we do is we're going to get a Aeolian. Right. And so these have parent chords. So this is going to be chord 6. C, D, E, F, G, A. Yeah. So we're going to start on the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Nothing new introduced here at all. Yeah. And then I'm going to use the green again. And then what we've got to have is we're going to have Mr. But Ugly Locrian, which belongs to chord 7. B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Right, and I just circle the tonal centres. Tonal centre is there for that one. Tonal centre, tonal centre. So if you wanted to start with that, so say you were saying to yourself, you want to play a G Mixolydian, and you've got a drone note that is a G. Right, what you could do is you could think of and then you wanted to say right, I want to go from Mixolydian to Aeolian. You shift this pattern to G. You would shift that pattern to replace this pattern that I've highlighted here, and that tonic then that tonal center would be the G note. Yeah. Okay. So this Wade's Music will be playing guitar for 2 weeks now. Practice only down picking, alternate picking, and economy picking. Not even worried about the fret hand yet. No, I wouldn't worry about that. But this it is a bit of a monster, is this? So, but like I say, I think these are really useful diagrams here. I will also put in some of those. I think I'll put a blank one of this in PDF Club as well, so that you can fill these out and just work it out and count along and do it. Say it as you play it and everything else like that. Don't worry about this stuff. If you're only 2 weeks into playing guitar, you shouldn't be worrying about this stuff. You should be looking at playing simple chords and playing songs, simple songs that you love. Yeah, that's the main thing. Play songs that you love. Right. I think what I've done is I've tackled that. Yeah, the picking is one of those things. I seem to remember woodshedding my picking ages and ages and ages and ages ago, and it was about 3 months, 3 months solid work. What happened to all the flats in the diagram? Sandy B's flat. Oh right, okay. Let's tackle it. Let's tackle it. Let me put that up there because Sandy B is there, because this is one of the things that gets people. Yeah, right. It's the flats and the sharps are relative to the starting note. Okay, so let's look at this, Sandy. You can see here. There it goes. So if we look here, this is an A aeolian. That is the root note. This interval here, the distance between that and that, that's the second. And this one here is the flat third, okay? So this one's the flat third. If it was a major scale, it would live here. But because it's a minor third that we need to make the sound aeolian, then what we do is we pull it back one fret. We pull it back a half step to get that sound. So that explains the flat third. There's the fourth. So all the notes that are in the scale formulas are the relative to this circled note here, to the note that is the root note of the, you could think of it as the root note of the scale or the tonal center of the scale. Yes, so we're thinking about it from there. Same thing would apply. So that's the fourth, that's the fifth. Now this here, this is a flat six. If it was a major six, it would be living here, but it isn't. We pull it back one to get that flat six there. Okay. That's that. Hopefully that explains it there, Sandy. You won't see sharps or flats because I'm in the key of C. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're just seeing the note names here. Let me zoom in. Yeah, you're just seeing the note names, right? But the thing, like I say, the thing is that's a root, that's a second, and the distance of that note, that C from that A, is a flat third. And this is why you need to learn your intervals, because if we were going up the interval seesaw, for instance, yeah, this would be a root, this would be a flat second, this would be a second, this would be a flat third, this would be a third, this would be a fourth, this would be the sharp four from that note relative to that note there. Okay, they're flat intervals, not flat notes. Yes, because we're in C major. C major hasn't got any sharps or flats. That's why we did it in that way. Okay, because we're in C. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. E sharp blows my mind. Paul called the church modes. Yes, the church modes or the Greek modes. So, okay, where are we at? Where do we go? That's how I do it. So Greg says that's how I do it, Ricky. Each of the cage patterns is home base for each mode. Yeah, but and as well as that, you can actually put a pentatonic in each of these as well, apart from Locrian. Yeah, because Locrian has got the flat 5, which makes it awkward. Yeah, because it's just an awkward bugger. All right, and that's the way it works. Is Locrian? It just destroys everything because of that flat flat 5. Now let's have a look. The interval is not the flat. The way I'm thinking of a relative mode is as a key scale pattern starting at the step of the interval that matches the desired mode quality. Let me read that again. The way I'm now thinking of a relative mode is as the key scale pattern as the modal scale pattern starting at the step of the interval that matches the desired mode quality. Kind of. Just reword that a bit, I think. It's a relative mode. So you've got a parent key, yeah, and that parent key has modes relative to it, yeah. It has modes relative to it, and like I say, there are relative modes and there are parallel modes, but the relative modes are derived from the parent major. Okay, okay. Fortunately, we don't have to think about it in the minor because the minor is a mode itself. Oof. Yeah. Phil James says, wonderful lesson tonight, but I think I'm due a Valium. Can you send them through post? And yes, I think the difference between parallel and series needs a bit of expansion. I think that might be something to do. I think that might be something, Paul, that I do in the next lesson. Because what I might do is I keep it to just playing. Yeah, because what it is this has been heavily like paper theory, overhead cam stuff, and I think when you hear the sounds, then it makes a lot more sense. Because that's, like I say, page 80 of the book. Hear the modes, listen to them, listen to the modes, and like I say, they're all derived from it. They're relative. They're inversions. The modes. That's sometimes the way I think of it as well. Modes are inversions of the parent major scale. Yeah, does that make sense? Because you can take a triad and you can invert it. You can start on the third. You can start on the fifth. And if you do a seventh chord, you can invert seventh chords. So you get you get the first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. So if you have the lowest note being your seventh, you get it's a third inversion. But they're the same notes; they're just in a different order. So really, modes you can think of modes as being inversions of the major scale, if that makes sense. But you derive them from. You don't just derive them from the third, fifth, and the seventh to get the inversions. You derive them from the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Okay? Yeah, it's a lot to take in, guys. It's a lot. Yeah, but the thing that I say is play them. Yeah, play the modes, play them, hear them. Get some drone notes. I have in this video description. If you are there now, if you're on your phone and you click this, you'll move away from this lesson here. But there's a link to Ben's drone notes. Yes, Locrian is pattern 7, and to be fair, the Locrian pattern is useful to learn. Yeah, because the thing is, if you can dodge the root note of Locrian. Then then you're kind of cheating a little bit. You're using it. There's a use case for the Locrian pattern. I think what I'm going to do is I think what I'll do off the top of my head, what I'll do is I'll come up with some little chord progressions maybe, and probably, and some chords. And some patterns, and we'll play through the patterns. But what I want to do is next time is we'll play the patterns, but we'll relate them as well to the major and minor pentatonics, and I think that's useful. Yes. So, does the drone note change the tonal center? Yes, it does, because that becomes. I think of the tonal center as being like a black hole. It's sucking everything into it. Everything wants to go inside it. Yeah, that's the thing. Everything wants to go inside it, and that's what you do. Now, if you go with it, then you're going to release the tension. But if you fight against it, you're going to create tension. Yeah, when you create that tension, that creates the drama and in the music that you're making. And then when you resolve, then that makes everybody go. That's the thing. It's about tension. It's always about tension and release. That's music. It's about tension and release. It's about art. It's about, if you think about every film that you've ever watched, there's always a bit of this. There's a climax in the third act or whatever it is, and usually there's some resolve apart from Easy Rider at the end, which blew my mind away, because that's got no resolve at the end of that film, and I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it. So I think we just about hit a wall there, guys. What's the link for? It brings me to the YouTube start page. It shouldn't do. Let's just have a look. It's for a playlist. No, it's for a playlist of practice drones. So it's for a playlist of practice drones that, and I'll just show you. I've got my Vizog in there. Oh, hang on, my Vizog isn't in there. Let me. Why am I not in there? There we go. Right, there we go. So look, you can see there's all these practice drones on here. It's linked in the thing. So there's all these different. These are all your notes. These are the 12 notes that you're going to use. 12 tonal centers, and you just go through these. Here's one in E. It lasts for 4 minutes, and what you can do is you can practice. You can practice to these drone tonal centers, and that's probably the best way to do that actually. Okay, I think that's probably the best way to do that. And now I'm going to listen to one of these drones now and go off into blissful slumber. Water Dog, thank you very much. You did some heavy lifting this evening, a lesson I will cherish. Have a cup on me. Thank you very much. Sean says, how do you use a drone? Play the drone, and then if it's in E, play E Mixolydian on top. Play E Lydian on top. Play E Phrygian on top. Play all the 7 modes on top so that you can hear what it sounds like. Okay? You can hear what it sounds like, and you can switch through them. And what you're doing there is you're using the modes in parallel. Okay? Just land it on the root. Yeah. Ricky, you were showing the rectangle pattern of the 4. You were showing the rectangle pattern of the 4 notes on the corners. The Mixolydian would be on the -7th and the -6th. We'll get into that. We'll get into the patterns next week, I think, Rich. I think that's probably the best bet. Because John's just said, thanks, Ricky. Head's done in. I think, like Phil, I'll bring tablets next week just in case. Look, yeah, the thing is, the whole reason here is to keep your brains working, keep your fingers going, yeah, and give you some mental chew toys to think over until next week. Yes. Well, it's been fun, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bid you a fond adieu. And like I say, if you want to check out the book, then here's where you get the book. You can get it in paperback, you can get it in spiral, you can get it in an ebook format. Get it in ebook, then what you do is, the clever way to do it is to scoot on over to the Fretboard Fraternity, look in the Learning tab, and you'll find all 80 of the video lessons there. You will also find the book. So if you want to download it again and download it to multiple devices, you can do. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, let me just have a little quick nosy in the Fretboard Fraternity. That there is it. Is it reduced in the in there? It might be, might not be. I don't know. We'll have a look. Oh no, I don't want Royal Mail. Yeah. So yeah, there's £2 off it in the Fretboard Fraternity. So if you're in the Fretboard Fraternity in there, it's £19 normally. It's £17 in the Learning tab of the Fretboard Fraternity if you want that. It's in there. Also, I should mention, like I say, all the PDFs for today's session, the blank ones, the worksheets, the ones that I've filled out and everything, those are going to be in PDF Club. We'll bang those up in tomorrow in a post. You can expect an email as well within the next couple of days or tomorrow, basically, and then you'll have them to go over the lesson again. Now, I know this is a long session, but what we tend to do with these, is, if you might know, is I edit these down so we take out all the fluff and we just keep the pertinent stuff in here, and then I repost that as a much shorter abridged version with just all the juicy bits, and then you can look at that and then just be really focused and not distracted. And Richard's goading me. Richard's goading me here for to look at the hair. Look, it's getting there. Hang on, it's a bit flat under the old hat, but look at that. Look at that. I look like Ken Dodd. If anybody knows who Ken Dodd is, yeah. But there you go. It's getting there. Larry Jones says, is the ebook updated from time to time, or is it the way it is? The ebook is essentially the lessons are the same. I haven't changed any of the content in the lessons. But the whole point of that is so that when we do these Wednesday live streams, what I can do is I'll do lessons from the book. I'll touch on the lesson from the book. I'll expand it, and then what I'll do is I'll connect it to other lessons in the book. The whole idea is that it's a web weaving. Okay, it's a web weaving of knowledge, and then connecting everything to to this, that, and other. Sean, who's that? Yeah, so so that's the way it is. There's new stuff. There's new stuff coming. So there we go. So Ingo says, thanks Ricky and all the others, and good night's sleep. I go to sleep with a drone tonight, literally. Right then, guys. Anyhow. So all that good stuff sorted out there. I just want you to remember who you're playing for, who you're practicing for. You're not playing to impress anybody else but yourself. You are the only one that can put the practice in. So make sure you find some time to practice this week, guys. If you can watch this again, I'll probably have to wait for this. YouTube has to do a thing with it to process it before I can put a transcript together to get a summary with chapters in, so you can click on it you can look inside the description and you can click on the chapters and where I'm talking about specific things. So that might be pretty cool, to do. I'll do that, but I've got to wait. I'll probably be doing that tomorrow. So go through it again, and like I say, enjoy yourself. Oh, Daryl, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Blown away by your generosity. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Really, hooroo. Thanks for the lesson, hooroo. That's good old Aussie, is it? Is it not? Am I right? That's hooroo's Aussie. Thank you very much, Daryl. I appreciate that very much. Okay, I think we're just about there, aren't we? 2 hours 42. We've done it's been a long mammoth session. I knew it were going to be, but there we go. All right, guys. So all that remains is to say I'll see you next week. Take care of each other and look after yourself and get your practice done and do your homework and everything. And I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.